Kaushik Chatterjee is Group CFO at Tata Steel. He joins us right now to take some questions. Thanks very much, Kaushik. Thanks for taking out the time. I want to start by asking you, what's your sense on EBITDA per ton at Chorus, profitability at Chorus? Because it's kind of been very hard to keep track of. Big improvement in this quarter. Last quarter was single digits. You know, in the third quarter, that's December 2011, that number was negative. Essentially, it's been all over the place. How should we read these numbers?
Well, that's symptomatic of where Europe is actually. But I think you have to look at it in the context of two very important factors. One is where the markets are in terms of steel demand as well as consumption from an end customer perspective, and where the raw material perspective is panning out with declining global growth as well as degrowth from China. So for a company that we have in Europe, where it really plays the profitability essentially out of a spread, or the starting point of profitability is a spread between raw material prices and the steel prices. And on top comes the conversion cost and the benefits that come across from management initiatives. So what you see in this quarter essentially is a better performance than the last two quarters. And it is on account of a few factors. The first one is on account of a much more stable production level. Second, we've been very hard on our management initiatives, and a lot of that outcome, namely the restructuring in our long products business, etc., are starting to coming through. Third is the spread between the raw materials and the steel prices for the beginning of the quarter was better than what was in the end of the quarter. So I think these are the three factors that you see, and the European market situation has been uncertain and volatile, primarily out of the sovereign problems that are emanating in that geography.
So let's talk about the spread, Kaushik. What's your sense? Is the spread likely to weaken? Is it likely to firm up? I mean, that will basically give us some color on how do you see that panning out? Europe, essentially.
Yeah, I think the raw material prices have been falling significantly from where it was earlier in the past year. And that provides the expansion to the spread. But equally important is to understand that the steel prices do follow the same trend. So there are points of inflection before it stabilizes into a certain band where either an expansion or a contraction happens. So for example, when raw material prices increases suddenly, then the steel prices lag that, and therefore you would have a contraction. My own sense is as we move forward, the spread will be affected or impacted by the steel price fall more than the raw material price increase or decrease, because the raw material price levels are have come to a kind of a range bound levels, I would imagine.
You know, because if you look at the fall in steel prices, the quantum of fall and the pace of fall, that hasn't been, you know, the fall in raw material prices has not been in proportion to that. The fall in steel prices has been, product prices has been much sharper. So that's why I asked you, you know, your thoughts on the spread.
Yeah, so I think
if you have any more color to add on that.
Yeah, I think so. That is where the whole perspective changes, because the steel prices have been falling ahead of the raw material prices, and now I think we have reached a level where I think it may remain within that particular range, but it will be impacted by the underlying demand. So if you have less volume in the market, the steel prices will perhaps remain a lot more stable than if you have more volume in the market, where it will tend to be biased towards downside. So I think we need to look at it from these broader perspectives. And I think the market is where it is, but I think our focus has largely been to be also looking very sharply at internal initiatives, both on operational and cost side.
Got that. You know, some people that we were talking to, analysts essentially, were pointing out to the possibility, or the potential rather, of about a 20-odd euro increase in HRC prices post-September. Do you see that?
Well,
I mean, do you see that happening?
Yeah, so you know, I wouldn't be able to comment on specifically on the number, but principally the summer period, which is the period at this point of time, is slower, as is in December. And therefore, post the summer holidays or the shutdowns that goes through in all of Europe, one expects and hope that the steel prices do increase towards the end of September, which will then have an impact on the spread of all converting companies.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.